it. You'll love it. Live from the Whitney Museum's lower lobby with your host, Zackary Drucker.
Wow. Thank you for joining us today on You'll Love It. Today on You'll Love It. That's right. You'll love it. Thank you. Thank you. We are so happy to be here tonight at the Whitney Museum. You know, the thing I love about contemporary art is that it's so interesting and unique. I was telling my colonoscopist about the Whitney Biennial, and she didn't know what the heck I was talking about. I told her it was this whole big arty kind of thing. And you know what I said? I told her, "You'll love it." How about all that art about art? It's like a circle that never ends. Folks, can someone explain to me what the heck all this art about hybridity is? I mean, what does that even mean? Am I right? You're right. You know, when I think about hybridity, I think about interspecies intercourse. Like when a dog has intercourse with a human and out comes a half dog, half human. Am I right? Wow. We have an extra special show for you tonight. Joining us, Flawless Sabrina. Kate Bornstein. And mix Justin Vivian Bond. Today, our theme is Ladies We Love. Thank you. Are we ready for that? Wow. Ladies we love. We are living for lovely, languid, everlasting, lawless, legendary, legitimate, and lethal ladies. We are the gateway to living life and articulating our way through reality. Learning to laugh. Laughing to love. Look to land, be linear, find the line, walk it, cross it, love a little, let go. Being the best that you can be. Adding luxurious length to your arm with a raised fist. Loving shadows and embraces. Ladies, we love. Ladies, we love. When you're on layaway and lush in a luxurious mind trance, you are lucky to be a lady in the new millennium. That's Emma Goldman, thank you. You are late for the future and early for the past. These are the ladies we love. Hollywood lawn, lover of cats and Egyptology. Warhol superstar, walk on the wild side, and no one can keep up. Greer Langton. Transgender artist Ms. Langton was featured in the 1996 Whitney Biennial. Even if this seems like a passing moment, trans people have always been around, and we're not going anywhere. Thank you. Vaginal Davis. Punk rock performance priestess, sex verbiage inventor, Ms. Davis is a force like a tsunami you can see coming, but you can't swim up into. Whether a big fish or a little fish, Ms. Davis will have you on land up in flames in 2 seconds flat. These are the ladies we love. This is them. Kashila Brooke. Deep attention span, deepening lesbian photographer, lover of nature and English setters. Wild Pacific Northwesterner, provocateur, and queer history enthusiast. Laura Bush. Cece McDonald, social justice icon and activist incarcerated for defending herself in what would have been a transgender hate crime. Thank you, Cece. Jan Morris, prolific writer, traveler, and among the first people to climb Mount Everest. Morris wrote an articulate, finely crafted transgender autobiography, Conundrum. Ladies we love. Precious Davis. Sister and LGBTQ youth advocate, activist, artist. In the audience, thank you for traveling to be here with us tonight. International Crises. Our guardian angel, a lover of all womankind, legendary showgirl, muse to Salvador Dali, and friend to all elevated spirits. Penny Sori, my mother. Mother Nature. Incredible. Thank you. We are the ladies who are going to alter everything you know about planet Earth as well as your internal world. We will dismantle the ruthless patriarchal system of brittle brutality, and you'll love it. You'll love it. We're gonna take a break. Be right back after a message from our sponsor.
Do you feel frustrated with your life? Thinking that you should be doing something else? That's how I was feeling.
A boat without a rudder, going around in circles, not knowing what to grab onto.
I needed a direction in life.
But what direction? So I decided to call Go Trans.
Go trans.
Go trans. Someone who could offer help and who had the knowledge and skills to guide me. Thanks, Go Trans. When going trans, there are things you should know.
Be responsive, and imagination is key.
I am like you.
I had a problem, like you.
Like you, I was concerned about what I should do, wondering if anyone could really help. Well, now I know.
Well, now I know. Go Trans provided the benefit I desired, just like it will for you. Inhale, exhale, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. We're back. Well, I've got something up my sleeve next, and I know that you'll love it. Our first guest is my grandmother and Whitney Museum neighbor, legendary warrior from the outlaw days of the 1960s. Star of the verite documentary The Queen, tarot and energy reader, psychic oracle, shaman, mystical magical being, a gift to all of humanity. 2014, please help me welcome Flawless Sabrina. Flawless Sabrina, you're a legendary neighbor to the Whitney Museum. You've been here as long as this very building we are sitting in, which was complete in 1966. You moved here in 1967. First off, tell me what this neighborhood was like when you moved in.
The first thing that I saw here was Yoko Ono jumping into a great big pool full of mud and splashing it all over the people that had come to see the show. I was so impressed.
We love Yoko Ono. We love Yoko Ono. What was the neighborhood like, Grandma?
It was kind of rough. I'm on 73rd between 5th and Madison. 5th was still fancy and Park was fancy, but New York was kind of on its tuchus.
What was the place like where you live now? What was on the first floor?
On the first floor was a hooker, and on the outside of the building was one of those things that tells you can go in there in case it was an atomic bomb. Yeah.
Awesome. And what was your place look like? What did it look like before you lived there? Who lived there before?
I actually have never met the person in the flesh, as it were, but she's been gliding around the apartment since water formed. And when I first moved in there, it was like sort of pea green walls, and I would see this funny light like wandering around, and I realized it was actually the shadow of a lady, I think, or senility, you know.
Okay, so that brings us to our next point. You're currently promoting your tarot and aura readings as connected to the Whitney Biennial.
Spot on.
You're always reading people. You're the original reader of bitches, Grandma. So who taught you how to read tarot and aura?
My grandmother.
Tell me about your grandmother.
She was cool as hell. I'll tell you, she could make the best pierogies. Oh my God. And she had this wonderful ability to be able to just kind of look at people and be able to see the light around them. And when I talked to her about that, she had never told me anything about it. I asked her. And she said, don't tell people about that. But now I can tell you right now, just looking out here, oh my God, you guys are blinding. And you, my dear, there should be a law against that. Oh my.
We're lawless here. We are lawless. We're going to start to get ready to cue a clip. But before we do, I wanted to remember one of my favorite stories, and I thought maybe you could tell it. It's about the brown walls in your apartment.
Oh, okay. So one day, Truman Capote's sitting in my living room, and Holston comes over with this big roll of fabric. Holston was kind of, you know, so he could carry that big roll of fabric, but he was not a happy camper. He said, look at this shit. My made-to-order is finished, and if I can make a deal with Monsanto to figure out how to make clothes out of this stuff, and it's so stiff and it stinks, and it's like, and Truman says without missing a beat, well, why don't you call it ultra suede? And it seems like only 2 minutes later, I was at some cocktail party somewhere, and some lady said with great grandeur, oh, it's ultra suede by Holston.
The apartment has seen many legends, and it's only a block away. We're going to watch a clip of The Queen, 1968, featuring Flawless Sabrina, and then we're going to talk about it.
Yes, I want you to come up tonight. I want you to get up here as fast as you can. That's all. Okay,
Is that
dear?
your mother?
Yeah. Okay, then come up tomorrow, darling. See you tomorrow. Okay, honey. No, I won't. Go. See you tomorrow. Okay, darling? All right, sweetheart. I love you. Yes, just come to New York and come to the apartment right away. Are you driving or are you, all you do is take a cab to number 5 East 73rd Street, and here we are.
Yeah,
Always
yeah.
drag queens by the time. All right, dear. See you tomorrow. Love you. Bye-bye, darling. Hang up the phone.
What about dinner?
What about dinner? My name is Jack. Well, my mother calls me Jack. Everybody that cares about me calls me Jack. That's my name. But I work under the name of Sabrina. And all the queens all call me Sabrina whenever I see them. I go up to this queen and I say, what's your name? The queen says, Monique. And you say, that's marvelous, darling, but what was your name before? And the queen will look at you straight in the eye and say, there was no before. I don't try to compete with them. Look, I'm 24 years old, but in drag I come on like 110. And I do this whole bar mitzvah mother thing, you know, gaudy gowns and pushy, but it's a good relationship with them because they don't fear me as competition, they respect me, and it's commercial. All drag queens want is love, and they try to get that love by being sexy and beautiful. They're like in this fantasy bag, you know? But who's not in a fantasy bag?
Wow. So Flawless, maybe you can tell the audience, the lovely audience here, a little bit about your history. You started running drag balls, 1959, Philadelphia.
I was still in college. I was about 18. I read this book by a guy called Harry Benjamin. I'm a psychology student. That was the only thing I could find. It taught me to be a non-competitive mother image. So we had first seen a drag contest in big New York. We started our own first contest in Philadelphia. And Flawless Mother Sabrina was basically born out of the audience teaching me what to do and some hints from this Dr. Harry Benjamin. Well, after years of time using this Dr. Benjamin book as a Bible, when the Queen was playing at Kips Bay Theater for a very long time here in New York, I went to see Harry Benjamin because I felt kind of empowered, you know? And I thought I was going to find, like, this guy levitating or something, you know, with this wonderful sort of portal into everything that you could possibly know about alternative lifestyles, as it were. And here's this guy in this little dusty office with these books. He'd never been to a drag contest. He didn't know much about homosexuals, but he understood pattern behavior. And it was amazing how it's, you know, is it the chicken or the egg? In point of fact, it was always the audience that teaches us. Always the audience that teaches us. And I think the best teacher by far.
Thank you for all being here, audience, and teaching us. We're going to keep on. All right. How did the Queen happen?
The bloom was going off of the rose. We had crossed some sort of Rubicon, something, just social changes. And I wanted to remember the kids were so brave, because I was a road rat, I was traveling around, but they stayed in town and stuff. I just wanted to remember it as it was happening then, you know? I mean, it would be impossible for me to have imagined you back in those days, but may I tell you, I dreamt of you desperately. Just saying. And P.S., you guys too. P.S. And the building we're in making this possible. P.S.
Why don't you tell the audience, what was it like running drag contests in pre-Stonewall era? Cross-dressing was illegal everywhere. You were escorted to state lines, you were arrested, you were beaten up.
Well, in another part of this brilliant building, there's something about Bill Burroughs. He was my boyfriend at one point in my life, and he was responsible for getting me go around the country and get a bunch of felonies expunged because I was constantly getting arrested because I was a man in a dress. And the guy that found me guilty of the felony was another man in a dress. Now that bitch's dress was black and mine was gaudy, but that's not a crime, girl. I don't think so, darling.
free advice from Flawless Sabrina. And if you don't like free advice, we'll charge you later. Let's start with the 5 cardinal rules. Grandma, will you do the honors?
Ain't too proud to beg. Stoop to conquer. Buck a snake to get ahead. And if it doesn't make you nervous, ain't worth doing.
All right, now I'm going to give you a few reaction words. What do these words trigger? Pride is conceit.
Spot on. I think that's correct. But it's a reactionary word, and I think that maybe conceit is the only way you can react if you're oppressed.
And these are some of your, sayings that I've picked up over the years. What does lifetime guaranteed until death do us part mean?
A certainty preferable, uncertainty unavoidable. All of my life, some sucker has been saying, I guarantee this and I guarantee that. Well, nobody can guarantee anything. You're the boss, applesauce. It's your movie. Own it, darling. Own it.
Reality is a mass hunch.
Yeah, at best. I mean, you go to India, there's that thing about cows, and you go like, where's McDonald's? And then it's like, well, there's over 1 billion people there. So if the size of the mass has something to do with the quality of the reality, I guess reality is just, floats around, changes from place to place. So that's why you're the boss, because you're the only one that can make those calls, just for yourself. I don't know any answers. One of the best arrivals I've made in my life, about 2 or 3 years ago, I realized I was an asshole. And it was such a relief. Oh. I would be so mad at myself because I thought I was so clever. Oh. And I would think, since I'm so clever, why am I doing stupid stuff? And then suddenly there's this, relaxing thing. I'm like, oh, I'm an asshole. Next thing. That in consideration, okay? If I figure I'm doing the best I can, then I've got to give the other guy the license. Maybe they're doing the best they can, too. Their opinion may be entirely different from mine. In point of fact, most unappetizing. Sometimes shit happens. But I have found in my old age, very old age as it were, that sometimes it's good to listen to those people with whom I don't agree at all, as opposed to getting sore at them, because I'm finding I'm learning a lot of stuff from doing that. Just saying. Vote for Hillary Clinton.
And we're going to end this segment with another Flawless Sabrina original. How about you say, if this isn't good, then what the fuck is? We're going to take a break.
Perfect.
Be right back after a message from our sponsor. Thank you, Flawless Sabrina!
Let me get my stick.
You got it?
This show's brought to you by Opulence.
And we're back on Y'all Love It! Thank you. There she is. Woo! Our next guest is for all the bookworms out there. And believe me when I say, you'll love it! She's a brilliant author, wordsmith, raconteur, visionary archetype, future role model, survivor, Jewish former Scientologist, drop-dead gorgeous, masochist, freak, lover, honesty provider, inspiration to all gender queers and weirdos of the new millennium. Please help me in joining Kate Bornstein. Now, we're here to talk about your new book, A Queer and Pleasant Danger. A Queer and Pleasant Danger traces your journey from a chubby Jewish boy growing up on the Jersey Shore to prep school nerd to free-loving hippie guy with long hair and wild outfits, searching for spiritual enlightenment and finding Scientology. In the early 1970s, now I have to say, as a resident of Los Angeles, arguably the belly of the beast, as it were, I love reading about Scientology. I read all the Vanity Fair articles about Scientology. I just think it's really compelling. But Scientology has played a much more complicated role in your life. And I believe this is the first time you've written about it. Now, if it isn't written, it isn't true. Why did you decide to talk about your history as a Scientologist now?
When I was in Scientology, I got married. I was a heck of a guy, and to my first wife and I had a baby girl, and she's now 40 years old. I haven't seen her since she's 9. And I wrote the book basically to let her know what happened to Daddy. When I left Scientology, I became an enemy. They label you things like enemy, and they make you fair game, which means literally they can trick or sue you or lie to you. Their words, they can destroy you. This is how my daughter has to look at me. So I wanted to write the truth of me the best I fucking could so that my daughter could see what happened. And she's got 2 kids, and maybe they could see what happened. No, they've not been in touch with me. The book's been out now for a little bit, and they've not been in touch with me, but that's why I wrote about it. And it was awful fun to write about Scientology. Oh my God!
What was it? Yeah. I think we're all I mean, what was it like? You worked directly with L. Ron Hubbard on the Sea Org.
I did. There was something called the Sea Organization. We were all on boats. We were sailors. And it was fun. It was a grand adventure. People said, he was a science fiction writer, so he made it fun for us. He made, oh, here we are. This is the last hope for humanity. In hundreds of gabillions of years, he would come up with trillions of years and say that we were saving the planet. And that's all we needed to hear. That's okay, cool.
I learned some really interesting and helpful things reading your book. How do you know if someone's a Scientologist?
Pretty easily, you can tell right off. They have these funny staring eyes. We were taught right off that you're never supposed to take your eyes off the person you're talking to. You always look them in the eye, and they always will. And they will acknowledge everything you say with an okay, or fine, or I say something to me, Miss Sabrina. Good. That's how you know a person is a Scientologist. I love you, Miss Sabrina. I loved your movie. I did.
A lot of love. There's a whole lot of love on You'll Love It. And I have to say, your book is so real and so honest about your struggles with finding community, anorexia, alcoholism, your strained relationship with your own father. You talk really openly and eloquently about being a masochist. You really lay it all out there. You're very, very generous. Who is your intended audience for this book? That was an easy answer.
My intended audience for the book was my daughter. And since I've not had any communication with her, I've been finding family in community. I have children in this audience right now. I have my nephews and nieces. I have my little sister who's going to come on next, Miss Justin Vivian Bond. I have aunties and uncles. I write for family. And if you read my books and you like it, well, we're family. It's as simple as that.
Thank you. So, speaking of writing books, I know your life really took on a new pace with the publication of Gender Outlaw, 1994, correct? Now, I've told you the story. When I was a young teenager, I shoplifted Gender Outlaw from it was a corporate bookstore, I swear. That's pretty much all they have where I'm from, Barnes & Noble. But they had Gender Outlaw, and I wouldn't be who I am, and so many of us gender queers and weirdos wouldn't be where we are now without your radical, revisionist conception of gender. And you've built these ideas as an artist, a writer and performer. When did you learn to trust and exercise your creative voice?
When I wrote Gender Outlaw, it was theory. It wasn't necessarily, no one was really doing it in mainstream. It certainly hadn't gotten to mainstream. People who were being, the point of Gender Outlaw is not man, not woman, that in-between space, that outside space, that space that doesn't, that's impossible. You say, not a man, not a woman, and people think that's a paradox. It's an impossibility, but that's what I was starting to live. I was starting to come to that point. And the only way I could express it was creatively. The book came out of a play called Hidden Agenda, and that's in the book at the end of the play, but that started it all. The creative juices started it all. It was a theory back then, you making it real. You are.
Now, I can't tell you, ladies and gentlemen, what a page-turner this book is. And I swear, I started reading it. I didn't put it down until I finished it. I've read all your books. This memoir just takes the cake. You hit all the points. You're so on, and it's so hard to put you on a pedestal. I always want to, but you're just so human in this book. We have a few copies here that we'd like to give out to a few lucky audience members. And otherwise, where could folks find the book?
You can get it anywhere. I would go to your favorite independent bookstore. If, like St. Mark's Books would be a lovely place to get the book.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Kate
you, my dear.
Bornstein. You are a vision. Thank you. We're going to take a message from our sponsors.
Zackary, do you have a second? Can we just talk for a second during the commercial?
You joking?
Okay. Yeah, no, just really quick.
That's Rhys, our producer. Hi, Rhys.
I just have a couple notes. Okay.
Yeah.
So look, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is terrific, and 10 is terrific and 1 is not so terrific.
Yeah.
How do you think the show is going so far? Because I just kind of want to see how you felt about it.
It's funny, like my biological grandma always used to say the word terrific, but when she said it, she was usually saying not terrific. Like, how is that sandwich, grandmother? Not terrific.
Well, do you feel like the show's going terrifically or not? Not so
No,
much?
this show is terrific. Are you kidding me?
Well-
This is terrific.
Well, did you know that the archaic meaning of the word terrific is to cause terror?
Really?
I mean,
No, I mean, then I guess the show isn't terrific. Terror? You mean like
you know,
the
terrifying.
etymology? Jeez. Wow. How about that? And we're back. Wow. Oh my goodness. Our final guest this evening is illustrious international superstar, singer, songwriter, comedian, actress, performer, writer, dreamer, muse. Flagship's touchstone mile marker, moving at the speed of light, backward and forward through time. I just know you'll love it. Please join me in welcoming Justin Vivian Bond.
Hi.
So, Mixed Bond, let's start with your name.
Okay.
You're writing your own language here, and I know you have a whole breakdown on your website explaining how you created this identity. We all create our own identities, but why don't we tell our viewers now, how did Mixed Justin Vivian Bond come to fruition?
Well, when I was in my 20s, early 20s, I was at a club in D.C., and I was born Stanley Huffman Bond III. That's my real name, named after my grandfather, who left my grandmother when my father was 3. My father never knew him, yet she insisted they name me after some man that left her that no one knew. Well, I never really felt like that was a responsible choice. And so since no one else took responsibility for naming me, I let this African-American queen named Ray Ray name me in a club called Trax in D.C. And he didn't choose the name. He just was trying to come up with a name. And he kept saying, because my family called me Chip, because I was a chip off the old, I don't know, abandoned block. And so I was called Chip. I was like, I cannot be a 40-year-old fag named Chip. No way. And so this queen was going, Chip was just trying to describe me. And I was like, just. And I was going to call myself Just Bond, but I thought that was too much like Simply Red, who was a pop star at that time. So I chose Justin Bond because it's the beige of names, and beige is my favorite color. Aggressively neutral is my mantra. And so I was Justin Bond for many years, and then when I started estrogen, because I wanted to sort of like acknowledge I wanted a medical and physical record of my transness. I was tired of just saying it and expecting people to believe it. So I started on the estrogen, and thank you for coming over to my apartment and giving me tips and insights into that journey.
Anytime.
And so I chose Mix because I didn't want to be Mr., Miss, or Mrs. Mix is exactly what it says, a mix, a combination, because I'm not a man or a woman, I'm a mix. And then I chose Vivian because I wanted to have a sort of combination in there. I didn't want to lose Justin because it took me forever to get people to stop calling me fucking Chip, you know. So I was like, oh, this settle, and they stopped calling me Kiki, and I've had so many names. I mean, right now I'm going by Grace. Her Serene Highness, Princess Grace de Monochrome, and sometimes de Monostat, it depends. But anyway, so that's how I got my name.
Okay.
It's chosen.
Oh, girl.
Self-determination, ladies and gentlemen, and the rest of us.
All right. So you're here to promote your new music video.
No, I'm here to be with you.
Oh, my God.
But we had to have an excuse.
The Golden Age of Hustlers, directed by Silas Howard and Aaron Greenwell, which we'll have the pleasure of watching at the end of the show. Let's start with the title. When was the Golden Age of Hustlers?
Well, the song, The Golden Age of Hustlers, was written by Bambi Lake, and her assertion was that It was in the late 60s and 70s on the Polk Street in San Francisco. And I moved to San Francisco in 1988, and I met Bambi sort of at the height of the AIDS crisis. And so it's a song about, our queer history and about a time when it was not a glorification of that time, but it was in fact a nostalgic time back when people were just, you know, prostitutes who might get the clap and go get a shot, and that would be that, which sounds like a lot of fun to me, quite frankly. To just go get a shot and that would be that. But then, of course, things got more complex. So it's a song about a very complex time that was simpler than the one we were living in.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about Bambi Lake also? There's so many amazing autobiographies here.
Well, Bambi has a book out called The Unsinkable Bambi Lake, which she put out in the 90s about her life growing up in Redwood City. And then she moved to San Francisco. She danced with the Cockettes and the Angels of Light, our queer trans sisters. And she then, you know, went to Berlin where she was dating some rock star, I think from the Stranglers. I'm just not quite sure. But I did read the book. But I read a lot, ladies and gentlemen. I don't retain it all, but it's in there somewhere. But anyway, so she worked with Romy Haag and her club in Berlin. So there's this real history. And Bambi is always worshipped at the altar of fame, and we're working very hard to make her a high priestess.
Absolutely. So at the end of the video, you have a star-studded cast, including Kate Bornstein and Flawless Sabrina.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like to have everybody in the same room? What was the funniest thing that happened?
Oh, God, you know, it was really amazing. I was so stressed out because I hate being photographed. It's just so, makes you so self-conscious and uncomfortable. But I was really happy that I had Bryn there to do my hair, and I had Kate there, and Kate hadn't been well, and so it was exciting to have Kate out and about and looking fantastic. And it was just this kind of dreamscape of people from all different walks of my life, and it was really exciting because the song's about San Francisco, which is where I met Kate and where I found my queer voice, and Kate discovered me, and she showed up in my dressing room and asked me to be in Hidden Agenda, and I wasn't going to do it because I was too nervous, because I was not completely comfortable with my trans identity at that point, and I was really enjoying the fact that I was a sex object for gays at that time, and I had never experienced that, and I was like, if they find out I'm trans, they're not going to want to have sex with me anymore, which turned out not to be true at all, FYI. But that was my hysterical, that was my panic. And so, what was the question?
Exactly. So tell us more about Hidden Agenda. Your role was Hercules.
Oh, right. So she asked me to play Herculine Barban,
Okay.
this French hermaphrodite. Now, I'd always secretly wished that I was a hermaphrodite, and you can't prove to me that I'm not. Now it's called intersex, but then it was hermaphrodite. And quite frankly, I like the old words because I find them exciting. I'm one of those people that thinks you can put a new coat of paint on it, but it's still what it is, you know? So, I mean, I'm with Sarah Palin on that. You can put lipstick on a pig, and it's still a pig. And quite frankly, I'm happy to be a pig in lipstick. What was the question again?
Okay, next question. JustinBond.com. I read your blog all the time. I know you recently had a show with Carol Channing, 2 shows with Carol Channing, one in the summer in Fire Island, one here at Town Hall.
I feel like she's my sort of spiritual showbiz grandma, because Carol Channing was a person who clearly created her persona and then became it. And I think a lot of us do that, because I know what I was raised to be certainly wasn't anything I was interested in becoming, and I knew that it was going to take an effort to be that. So I just sort of envisioned what I did want to be, and I became that instead. And I think Carol Channing is a perfect example of that. And also, she was very smart, and she played very dumb. And I like that too, because I used to always pretend I was drunk so I could get away with a lot of stuff. I think I need to start trying that trick again.
You have the drunk news, right? You have YouTube videos.
I know, but
called The Drunk News.
that's for a video. I'm talking about when you want to get people to do stuff for you. Sometimes it works if you pretend you're on pills, because then people are just more malleable.
That makes a lot of sense.
Well, yeah.
So you've been expanding your brand with a tell-all autobiography, Tango, My Childhood
That was
Backwards.
it. Didn't tell all. That only went till I was 16. Things hardly started at that point.
So do you have a follow-up planned?
Maybe if the world becomes ready for it.
Are we ready, world? What do you think? I think that's a consensus. That's absolutely consensus. You also have the ultimate symbol of a fashionista, chic woman, a new fragrance, The Afternoon of Fawn.
Yeah.
How is that different than, let's say, Majesty?
Well, I haven't smelled Majesty because I live on a limited budget, so I had to create my own scent, which I got basically a lifetime supply of, and I had this notion that I wanted to create a trans scent, and I wanted to, make it happen. And my strategy for when I want something to happen is I put it on the horizon, and I kind of just like rest my eye on it and draw it to me. But I had a little bit of a shortcut because I have amazing sisters, my older sister Kate Bornstein, and many of them are redheads or used to be redheads and now blonde, including Tilda Swinton. And she worked with this French perfume company, and she created a fragrance called Like This, and she said, "But darling, come to the launch and I'll introduce you to the French people." And so I went to the launch and she introduced me to the French people, and I sent them an essay about my concept for the perfume, and they said, "Okay, let's do it," and that's how it happened.
Wow.
But I had to think about it first. I had to have it all ready in my head. It was like, boom, just like that dream house I'm working on.
All right. Before we watch your video, you'll love this next game.
Oh, good.
I'm going to say a word, and you're going to answer if it's terrific or not terrific.
Because terrific, I agree, it is a word like a terrific storm. It's scary. But
All right.
It can be exciting, too.
This is going to be wildly exciting. The mirror stage.
What's that? The mirror stage? Is that what kids go through when they put on blankets and pretend it's their hair?
It's a Lacanian concept. Yeah, basically.
But that's
it's
that.
When
That's right.
A child first recognizes themselves in the mirror, right?
Hello,
You
yes,
had it,
it's
you had it.
terrific.
It's terrific. Eileen.
I was just simplifying it for the idiots at the Whitney in the audience.
Eileen Warnos.
Amazing. I mean, it's terrific or what?
Not terrific.
Terrific.
Eileen Warnos as played by Charlize Theron.
She got an Oscar out of it, didn't she? Terrific.
Spanx.
Terrific. I like them because they're crotchless.
Kips Bay.
Well, isn't that where your film played? Terrific.
Jared Leto.
Didn't he win an Oscar? Terrific.
2000.
I like pretty things.
2013.
That was last year. I can't remember it, honestly.
2014.
So far, terrific. Well, no, it's fine. We'll see. I can't answer that question. It's only just started, and my depression is just beginning to lift. The wet winter. Vortex, is that one of the choices?
Absolutely. The computer.
Oh, God. I'm taking this all so seriously. That's why I'm spending so much time. The computer. Whose computer?
The computer.
Oh, not that great. No, not terrific.
Not terrific. Thank you.
That was the last one.
That was the last
Terrific.
one. She did it. Thank you, Mixed Chubby and Vivian Bond. We're gonna cut to our last commercial, aren't we? Is that what we're doing? No, we're gonna watch the video.
Video. It's a video.
I went blank for a minute. Are you ready? We're gonna love this music video. This is Justin Vivian Bond, the golden age of hustlers.
In San Francisco long ago, I made my living hooking on Polk Street and the old black rose. My eye was always looking for some dumb man to pay my rent and some young man to love me. With so many heavens set, I thank the stars above me. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but names can never hurt me. The queens and the hustlers of the red light zones never did desert me. The scent of men and prospectors, they drift up from the grub stake, where I shared so many cheeseburgers with my hustler husbands. In the olden days, the golden age of hustlers. I saw the best bodies of my generation, sold, bartered, and destroyed by drugs and prostitution. Pretty queens on the corners and midnight cowboys in the doorways. If you want it, daddy, get it here. It's a candy store in more ways than one. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but names can never hurt me. The queens and the hustlers of the red light zones never did desert me. Golden girls and boys almost like chimney sweepers come to dust. It's hard to find someone you can trust amidst the rhinestones and the rust. In the olden days, the golden age of hustlers. In the olden days, the golden age of hustlers. Prettiest boy I ever saw was San Jose Johnny the Libra. Hey, don't make him like that anymore, baby-faced gentleman outlaw. Some of the boys became like kings and stayed down there forever. And some of the girls became like stars with money, clothes, and fancy cars. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but names can never hurt
That was amazing. Thank you all. That's our show. We wanted to thank Emily Ahrensman and Danielle Linzer for all their incredible help in making this happen. Ellen Reed for doing the music and sound cues. I wrote it with Rhys Ernst. Thank you, Rhys, behind the table. Thank you to the Whitney Museum. Thank you to Fierce, to Fred, Tiff, Odell. Fierce is an LGBTQ youth advocacy organization for youth of color here in Chelsea. Role models for the future. You guys rule. We've got a film upstairs in the lobby gallery. There's some photographs on the third floor, and there's a whole exhibition called the Whitney Biennial.